Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. This week we do the movie Everything's Illuminated with Elijah Woods and a bunch of people from Ukraine you wouldn't know. This week we also bring in movie news, and we have James Stevens, Jonathan Charney, and the man whose favorite bands include Tiny Tim, Prince, and Madonna, Ryan Preston. This week we did the movie Everything's Illuminated. This movie's about a young Jewish American man who endeavors to find the woman who saved his grandfather during World War II in a Ukrainian village that was ultimately razed by Nazis with the help of an eccentric local.
You mean erased?
Erased, razed. That's what it says in the IMDb, so blame them.
Like razed to the ground, not raised, in an orphanage.
Raised under the ground, you mean?
This is, if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, I hope you have. I love this movie. It's a great movie. It's one of the few movies that I have to say that I respect Elijah Woods for. Because if you haven't seen some of his earlier movies like North or Flipper with Paul Hogan, his career doesn't exactly spark amazement.
Well, unless you were, 8 when North came out.
No excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, you've been
overruled.
Yeah. What I love, first of all, I love the soundtrack in this movie. The quirky soundtrack,
wearing purple.
The eccentric random soundtrack fits the theme. I love kind of the surreal look.
Yeah.
The color palette's amazing, especially
it really is.
Especially when you get on towards later in the movie, when you see a lot of grass.
When you see the beautiful landscapes of the Ukraine and how it's a hardy and fruitful land, they did great with the color aspects there.
I thought when you were in the city, it was dank and dirty, and when you got to the more countryside, everything popped. I just thought it was an amazing color palette. I love the story.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a great story. I do have to say that James and I had the same opinion. Is in the beginning of the movie, Elijah Woods is a klepto.
Yeah, he really is.
He steals his grandmother's teeth.
Well, I also need to preface what we're saying here is Elijah Wood's character in this movie is referred to as the collector.
Yeah.
And what his problem is that a lot of the families coming out of the Holocaust. Now, the Holocaust really did happen, people out there. I know they're trying to hide it and stuff, but it really did happen. And
just so a lot of these
grandchildren from these families have no idea about their history. They don't know where they came from because it was such an awful thing
and that
none of them spoke about it. Even on their deathbeds, they would not speak about it. I have family that came from this, and we still don't understand fully our history because of the fact that a lot of my grandparents went to their deathbeds tight-lipped.
And that's what I think the main story about
that
this
is exactly what this
is a man whose family dies and he's left by himself wondering what happened that left his family scarred.
Yeah, well that's what it shows in the initial thing is all the collections that he has of all these little knickknacks and memories that he has of all these people. But then it goes to his great-grandfather, and he has this one little piece of memorabilia that he has no idea about it.
Exactly.
And that's what this whole movie is about, is the search that he goes on to find out what it is.
And hopefully throughout, as we've been doing the Real Flix reviews, you've watched the movie beforehand, so you understand what, when we were discussing like the details of it. But this movie, you need to see this if you haven't. It's a great movie.
It really is. It's a movie that one of my comparisons to a lot of this movie is I tell people, and you don't understand it until you've actually seen the movie, but I tell people it's a funny movie like Schindler's List. And if you've seen, most people out there have seen Schindler's List at least once, and I don't know anybody that's ever come away from that movie laughing.
Right.
I mean,
I bet we could pick a few people we've known.
We could, but that's what I tell people, and people kind of look at me weird, and then you get into the movie, and one of the great things about this movie, and I don't want to go over John's points, but is this movie is a comedy. It shows the joking nature of the people that are out there. They're fun. They're great to be around. But a lot of them have also been hurt. Quite scarred.
I think the one thing, though, is reflecting on it, is I think it's less about Elijah Wood's finding out who he is, but the redemption of the people he goes with.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
What it is that he goes to Ukraine and he hires a driver, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's two people. It's the grandfather and his grandson.
And his
Oldest grandson.
Yeah, oldest grandson.
And Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. Was that the dog?
Yeah, that was the dog's name.
Okay, that's right. And it's... Sorry, that's so random.
Best character in that movie.
He is. That dog's so great.
And it's... The one scene in there I think that I'll never be able to forget is towards the end of the movie when he meets a lady. If I remember correctly, she had a bunch of jars in her house, right?
Yeah, she was also a collector as well.
And she was the sole survivor of this village, if I remember correctly, or one of them.
Yeah.
And it just the stuff she has is the memories of the people that were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such James is right. It's a funny movie, but the way they do it is a way that leaves you going, "Wow."
You really learn how to care about these characters. And Ryan, I think you should just jump in here. I'm kind of jumping in.
No, well, shoot, you were jumping all over it with.
Yeah.
I mean, these characters. They come from two different worlds, you know what I mean? And like you said, he starts out as just this collector, and he's got this hole in his collection that it's kind of eating at him that he doesn't know why. You know, there's only this one thing that he really knows, you know, about his grandfather or great grandfather, I think.
Yeah.
And
great grandfather.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, goes on this, and the whole thing is told through sort of a biography of the story written by one of the other characters, but. It starts out the commencement of a
very rigid church,
of a very rigid search, and so you already kind of know, like it's this quest to sort of find out what happened to his grandfather when he came. He finds this picture of him and a woman that has the little pendant that it's the only thing that he has of his grandfather, and he uses this as the only clue to go to Ukraine and track down what happened to his grandfather, and meets these people, the grandfather and the grandson. I think his name was Alex. I can't remember the grandfather's name. And then obviously Sammy Davis. The grandfather is convinced that he's blind and that he needs this seeing eye dog, Sammy Davis Jr.
No. Seeing eye bitch.
Seeing eye bitch. I beg your
I
pardon.
think his grandfather's name, according to IMDb, was just grandfather. I don't think he had an actual
That's why
name.
I can't remember his name.
No,
then,
the
so
character
I'm just
didn't have a name.
And then they kind of just go on this quest, and the grandfather is not very secretive about being pretty anti-Semitic.
Oh, totally.
And talks an amazing amount of shit, mostly in Ukrainian and Russian, and to Alex, while Elijah Wood's character is in the back seat, listening to all of this and kind of picking up just the tension. But then that tension over a period of this quest goes, you know, from tension to kind of understanding of both worlds. You know, they start to understand, you know, each other as far as, you know, Elijah kind of getting where his grandfather came from, and then the grandfather becoming a little bit more tolerant and things.
I think at the end, the grandfather, it was more of instead of like a hate relationship, like this is, you're paying me so I'll do it, to a more of a family, like this kid is searching for something, you know, it was, you know, like a familiar tie that wasn't there type of thing.
Well, I think he was having a lot of remorse too.
Oh, yeah. Hardcore.
About the things, you know, that he was a part of, and, you know, the things that he knew, and, you know, obviously which plays in at the end.
Oh, totally.
I won't get into right now, but yeah, I mean, there was some heavy stuff going on. I mean, just Elijah Wood's kind of, I said Woods too, damn it. Thank you, John. Elijah Wood. It was a great performance for him, because there was a lot of non-dialogue on his part, a lot of him just kind of looking around and sort of noticing things, and it was all played in his face. And that's really hard to do for actors, and you don't see it very often, because it's hard to tell a story without any words, just expression.
Yeah, the great thing about Elijah Wood's character is you see the character development in the change, as you just said, of his face and the way he started relating to people, because as you said, is he's taking a lot of it in. He's basically coming from an American Jew to seeing what it's like to be a European Jew, and a lot of the hatred that is still in those countries.
Sure.
And that's what he was coming up against, because there's not a lot of hatred against Jews in America as compared to Europe.
Right.
And some of those countries that were war-torn through World War II.
And
even
it's a lot more subtle too. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't. It's all those little things. You know what I mean? The talking behind the back. It's not out in the open like it was. So it's this. But it's still really deep rooted in the culture. In a lot of places.
I think some of the being anti-Semite in here in the movie. Some of it was subtle. Some of it was very in your face. I mean, it was the freak flag flying type of thing.
Well, the thing about the reason why it was so flagrant was because the grandfather wasn't expecting Elijah to understand what Jude means.
Well, yeah.
In their language, and that's when he finally just says it to him. I know what Jude means. I know that's derogatory for Jew. I understand that. Will you stop it? And you come back and you find out, and that's the subtleness of the movie. And I'm pointing this out blatantly to people out there, is the grandfather was Jewish, but he was hiding it.
It wasn't from the same village, right?
It was from the exact same village.
He was a Nazi sympathizer.
Trashtenbrand. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
He was one who denied his Jewish.
No, he wasn't.
Jewish. Really?
He was the one that was standing up in the firing squad, and he got lucky, and the bullet just grazed his head.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it grazed his head,
and ran away.
And he got up and he threw off his jacket. So that was the time that he said, after surviving a death squad, basically saying it's not worth it to be Jewish anymore.
Yeah,
that's what happened. He didn't deny it. He didn't do any of that. He denied it after almost dying.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant.
And that's where it comes out that, I mean, he had turned from Jewish to anti-Semite, because he was so angry at the fact that he was part of this hated.
Yeah, your classic self-hating Jewish guy.
Yeah. So that's what that whole thing was, and it showed the change of that, as Ryan said, is that he was self-loathing for turning his back on them.
And then what I liked also was the generational contrast between the same place, but then the grandfather, and then a generation removed with his grandson.
Oh, there's that train again.
You really get you really get a sense of like he's kind of like, oh yeah, grandfather, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the Jews suck, But then he has no problem just being cool to people. It's the kind of understands that his grandfather's a little bit set in his ways and kind of believes a certain way, and then agrees with them in his company. But then as soon as he gets out, he's like, I don't understand what all this hating's about.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's less. It's just not having the reason his grandfather did. I think his grandfather never really said a lot. That he just was racist, but didn't give a particular reason.
No, he never did.
I think the tie for his grandson was like, why are you racist? There's no reason. And I think as the story progressed, I think the grandson was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He started
to understand.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying, is that's what a lot of people who are Holocaust survivors understand. So they appreciate this movie and they get into the story. And even for people who don't understand that, hence you and Ryan,
right? Yeah,
is that it's something that you guys, the way they did the story, actually gives you an idea of what it was like. They did a really good job in explaining it.
Yeah, if I could wrap up my feelings on it, it was one of the most poignant stories. I mean, you very rarely see a movie like this anymore that just really drives a really great point home, but doesn't beat you over the head with the sadness of it. I mean, it was told with a great amount of comedy. The character of Alex, and the grandfather going back and forth. I mean, half the time was hysterical, which really brought a lot of weight to the heavier moments. You know what I mean? It made you really kind of, like you said, understand a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody's seen a ton of, Nazis did this, or the anti-Semite this, or the Jewish people escaping from this place. But these little tiny things, you know what I mean? Like you were saying earlier, people trying to put pieces of their history back together. I mean, it really told it very well. The score kicked so much ass in this movie.
It did. It's one of those few movies that I went out.
Great too, but just the score of the feeling of the whole thing was so fucking cool. It looked incredible. The cinematography was amazing. It didn't occur to me until later on. This movie was directed by Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
I know him just kind of as a character actor, and I think he's done a couple of lead roles, but but I've always liked him in, you know, just these random other movies. I had no idea that he was that poignant of a film director.
Yeah,
I think I think the benefit of this movie, I think, is they film it very surreal. Far as I think it'd be like, you know, if you were in Elijah Wood's case, you know, if you and him, it would be the same thing. You're in a car. That's what I think the benefit of this movie is. It's very surreal. It's very realistic, I think, in the way they talk. Without being Ryan said, just beating you over the head with a reason they're doing this. And I think that's the key. Is it's always present. It's always there. But it's not just in your face like some of these movies are. It's not like, oh, okay, this is the point I should feel bad. This is the part where you're really invested in all the characters.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the best
thing. You feel about it how you want to feel about it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to make this point, and I was kind of actually surprised that you didn't bring this point up, is that at the very end of this movie, when he's left Ukraine and he's coming back to America, he gets off the plane and he starts to look around, and this is the whole point of the movie, and he wrapped it up very subtly here.
Yeah.
Is if you start paying attention to all the people that he looks around and sees, you start seeing everybody that he encountered on his trip that were sub-characters.
I never even noticed that.
And
he started noticing them at the same time.
And the thing that they're trying to say at the very end of the movie is we're all related. We're all humans. We all have the same blood in us. And that person over there could be a great, great, great cousin or, you know, way removed. You don't know that.
Well, I think the line was, in the light of the past, everything is illuminated.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that should mean something just right there. I mean, all the people that he was noticing and all of them noticing him at the same time. Yeah,
so it's actually a really cool, well-played finale of that whole movie and wrapping everything up.
So to just kind of give our ratings on it, I don't do this very often because I think the particular rating I'm going to give this is it has to be rare in order it to mean anything. I give this movie a 5 out of 5, just because of the fact that it's a subject that generally I think is either done poorly or is done as a intentional tearjerker without having a reason, without having the surrealness to it. No ties that really make you care.
Yeah.
This movie, Schindler's List, there's a handful of movies that I think are really well done that make you care about everybody involved, from the worst character there, that you're like, like the bad guy, to the best character there. And to me, this is a movie that it should be seen.
Yeah. Well, I would have to say that I agree, because I mean, even the kid that comes up and sticks gum in their tires, you kind of find it in a funny little bit, and that would be the worst character of the whole movie. I'm sure you guys remember that scene.
Yeah.
But, this movie for me, I would say it's on a 5 out of 5. Just in the sense that it's the source material that they're dealing with is not an easy subject to broach.
Oh, no, especially not in a film with comedic elements.
Yeah, with comedic elements. And you find yourself laughing through this movie. You find yourself really enthralled with this movie, like you want to see what's going to happen next. And there's even a scene or two that I can even feel like that you're almost on the point of crying, because you care about the movie that much. You care about the characters in the movie. And there's a very sad scene that I'm not going to bring up right now that happens towards the end of the movie that everybody that I've ever watched this movie with just stops and goes, why? Just why? Why did that happen? And I've always had to explain it to somebody, in the way that I perceive it. And that's kind of the thing that's great about this movie, is you get your own opinions of it.
So what was the rating you gave this?
5.
And Ryan?
Well, I started this with a rating, and then just in 4.5 seconds, John changed my mind on it. This is not a subject that's easily broached in a way like this. It has to be a rare thing in order for it to mean something, and I think we've all kind of noticed that we've reviewed a handful of really good movies that and a lot of people would be a 5, but we didn't, just because, you know, there's that rarefied air. This is one of those movies, if I could say it like this: if I was in 7th grade and the teacher came in and said, "Okay, we're gonna watch a movie that has to do with the, you know, like Ukrainian, you know, Jewish and Holocaust things," I'd be like, "Ah, shit, here we go." You know what I mean? But I'll watch it because it's a movie. I would have loved that movie, even if it was made for like, "Hey, we need you to learn something from this." I mean, it's a movie you could really play for anybody, and it means a ton. It explains a lot. Yeah, that's a 5. I was gonna give it a 4 originally, but
yeah, I was kind of in the same boat with
that story told that well. I mean, it really definitely deserves it.
There's a couple of reasons why I give it a 5. Is one, I think a mark of a good movie is because it's a short film. It's an hour and
1 hour and 45 minutes.
1:45, and it seems longer.
It does.
That to me it's a sign of either a really good movie or a really crap movie. And this, to me, it was a really good movie.
Well,
and I think the other thing is, unlike Schindler's List, which I think this movie is approachable.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a subject that the way they introduce it, the way it's told, it's not like, you know, it's not such a heavy film like Schindler is.
The thing is I was initially going to give this movie a 4, as Ryan was, but you are right. It is something that if we really stick to the rating system that we've created, there is absolutely no reason not to give this movie a 5. Even off the just the music in there, the music is appropriate for every scene you enter.
It's a killer soundtrack.
Every scene in there, if there's music playing, the music really fits the mood that you're going into it. That's just saying something. That's just really well done too. I mean, there's just absolutely no reason why this movie should not be a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unanimous. It's you know, it's one of the very few. I think this is the second episode that a 5 has ever happened on.
Yeah, the second episode of 5 has ever happened, and the first time that we've all
given it a 5,
agreed on a 5.
So this is definitely a rare moment. So, Mr. Tall, do you have movie news?
Yes, I do indeed, actually. Okay, well, jumping right into the movie news. Looks like there's going to be a reboot of The Rocketeer. Apparently back in the day they didn't break their fabled $50 million mark, so they're going to try to do that again. And that was the only reason that back in the day they didn't go ahead and have a bunch of spin-off movies and a bunch of sequels and things like that.
I loved The Rocketeer.
Now they're going to go ahead and update it for the new audience. See if they can get a bunch of 14-year-old girls to come and see it. Warner Brothers is up and doing a Pontius Pilate movie, which hasn't really been done. I mean, there's been movies that have you know, featured him as a character, but not predominantly as the main character. So this is going to be, I guess, mostly about his military career and ending up in politics, and then ending off with his post in Judea.
Interesting.
Do they?
So it's in Warner Brothers. So I mean, they definitely got the money to throw behind it, you know, to make it decent. If you know, depending on who's attached. Here's one that I don't know about. Dumb and Dumber sequel is
no.
Wait, hold on. Is this
This is not with extra other characters. Basically,
is this the one that's supposed to be the actual true sequel?
Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey were both signed on to do this movie. Jim Carrey at a certain point dropped out because he felt that the studio wasn't taking it seriously enough, until Jeff Daniels came back and talked him back into it, said, no, this is going to be what we want.
Wait, hold on. They're taking Dumb and Dumber serious?
That's what I was kind of stuck on.
The first movie, John, I don't care what you say about it, that is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Probably the closest thing to a perfect comedy. Don't your head. James, I know you agree with me on this at least a little bit. That's a damn funny movie.
You know, I will give you like I won't go as far as to say a perfect comedy.
Perfect comedy. Fuck you guys.
I would say it's what a comedy could be defined as.
I have to stand by this, and I think that the fans are going to agree with me on this one.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to know what you think about this movie, because I'm not a fan of it. James, And apparently Ryan is really into it. So please let us know. Comment on the YouTube or our page, or contact us on the email list. The email address will be in the credits of the show. I want to know what you think.
Still Smoking.
Still
Smoking is a perfect comedy.
Validated here, so
Still Smoking. I second that. Still Smoking.
Still Smoking is a perfect comedy. Fucking vodka, man.
Okay,
And people, I don't cuss very often, but I cannot screw that line up.
of course, no, it's a quote. You can't fault it.
So before
Okay,
we cut you off, what was the other?
Moving on.
Yeah,
Kevin
do that.
Costner has signed on to do the next in the Jack Ryan series of movies. Now,
Ooh.
Jack Ryan, I don't know if you guys remember, is the guy Tom Clancy created for like Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games. I'm missing one. Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah.
And the one
that
with
Ben Affleck was in Sum of All Fears.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Which
Which
was-
thing I was like, I know it's
Jack
not reindeer.
Ryan, and I think the first couple were Harrison Ford.
No, it was Harrison Ford and it was Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin,
And yeah,
and then Ben Affleck.
I liked that one. It was not.
Some
I
All
thought it
Fears
was pretty
a good
good.
movie. It was the closest that
Ben
somebody
Affleck
other
has
than
ever
Kevin
gotten.
Smith has got Ben Affleck to act good. So I'm interested to what they're going to do with the next Jack Ryan series because those were some good movies.
Who'd you say
Specifically
was?
'cause they were written by Tom Clancy and they had a little bit
Kevin
of
Costner.
of reality based in them. So that'd be interesting. And I'm gonna cap this little part off with a nice little treat for James.
Oh no.
Todd Phillips has taken over for Martin Scorsese in the remake of The Gambler. The Gambler with
Thank
James 1976.
God.
Martin Scorsese was attached to direct this, and they gave it to Todd Phillips, the old school guy.
Does this mean I have to hear that song again?
God.
Dear God,
You
please.
know, I'm fine with the song as long as it's not.
Know when to fold him, dude.
Well, here's the problem. It's like any movie that has that. It's going to be played over
know when to walk away.
and over and over. It's like that thing you do at the end of it.
Walk
you want
away,
to shoot
John.
the person.
Walk away.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that was Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of his songs are played way too fucking much.
Yeah, I agree.
If I've heard one of those songs in the last 6 years, it's been too much.
And if you guys out there, audience members, don't know how I feel about Scorsese,
You haven't been paying
don't
attention.
ask because you will get nearful.
You don't have enough time to sit there and listen to it. Let's just
Oh
say
yeah,
that.
I despise that man.
We should make a
And,
short. We should make a 10-minute episode of James complaints on directors.
Let's not open up the can of worms.
Oh, come on.
And I just wanted to end this whole little news thing by saying that Tony Scott, director of such things as Top Gun, Man on Fire, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, the remake, of course, Spy Games, True Romance, Beverly Hills Cop 2, just to name a handful, died on
And
August
Days of Thunder.
19th here in Long Beach of an apparent suicide, I guess, just jumped off a bridge right over here in Long Beach. Definitely one of those guys that's going to be missed. Obviously, brother of director Ridley Scott, who's one of my all-time favorite.
And he's
directors.
also been the producer on a lot of Ridley Scott films.
Yeah, produced a million things. This guy has had his hand in a ton of things that have entertained people for a long damn time. So definitely going to be missed on
Yeah, it
him.
doesn't really make sense why he did it, but whatever.
I'm sure his family's. I think he left a note, but I think it's going to be up to his family to decide whether they want to release that or not. So.
I would like to say something real quick. When it comes to something like this, no matter what you feel or how you feel about a particular person, it's always sad to see somebody commit suicide. Somebody is especially in Hollywood who their job is to relieve everyday stress, pain, whatever, just to have a few hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we here at Real Flix Reviews would sincerely, want to just hope that the condolences for the family. It really is sad.
Yeah. It is a sad thing that a man would take his own life. There is no reason that I could think of, so it is just a sad thing for the family that is out there. Ridley, I don't know the rest of his family, but Ridley, we do have our hearts going out to you. So,
Sir.
I am on for next week, and neither of you guys know what I'm picking.
I'm afraid of this.
So I told John he doesn't get to find out until now. What I am picking, and the reason why I'm picking this one is because I don't know how long it's going to be available on Netflix.
Okay. This is scary now.
Folks.
I am picking
Dun, dun,
the
dun.
first time that Real Flix is going to be doing this is a miniseries. This is only a 2-episode miniseries. It equals out to 3 hours. And it is 3 hours worth it that any of you Peter Pan fans out there
Oh.
will ever have and watching this and just going, oh. That's what this movie's gonna. That's what this miniseries is gonna do to you. It's called Neverland. It came out in December 4th, I think, last year, 2011.
Oh, yeah.
And this is actually produced and put together for Sci-Fi. And this is not
did it have an association with BBC or BBC America? Or
yeah,
something
it was BBC America, but Sci-Fi picked it up and put it out.
Okay.
So this is a Sci-Fi thing that came out for the States on Sci-Fi. And this is one of those things that I don't like sci-fi movies made for sci-fi at all.
In tongue.
Yeah, I am. I'm leaving it at that.
I love sci-fi films, so that's, yeah.
Well, are you
Really?
talking about this like sci-fi genre or the Sci-Fi Channel? Because the Sci-Fi Channel's known for making bad
The
sci-fi movies.
Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
no,
I wasn't talking about
that.
You thought I was talking about sci-fi movies?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm talking about Sci-Fi Channel movies.
I was going to say, man, like, we've had many a discussion. Continue.
Now, so I if any of you guys out there have ever seen the Disney Peter Pan or even Hook, I suggest that you guys sit down and watch this movie or this miniseries. I keep saying movie, it's a miniseries. So that's what's on for next week. It's called Neverland. If you guys out there have Netflix, you can find it. If not, you can find it elsewhere.
I got to say, I was really afraid it was going to be like Waxworks or something along that ilk. I was really terrified that you're going to...
No. I'm not going to do Killer Clowns from Outer Space or anything like that.
I love that movie. That's a fine movie. That's a...
Gave me an idea for next time.
Oh, don't worry, Ryan. I've got it in the books for you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to wrap things up, I gave Everything's Illuminated a 5 out of 5. James gave it a 5 out of 5, and Ryan gave it a 5 out of 5. Next week's movie is the movie Neverland. And for Jonathan Charney, James Stevens.
Goodbye.
And Ryan the Queen Preston. See you next week.
This episode of Old Guy Tech TV is brought to you by Ward's Automotive, specializing in Banks Power and Pack Brake, servicing your car or truck and specializing in diesel engines. Over 30 years of service, located in Diamond Springs, California. Give them a call at 530-626-5588.